Hello there, Brick Fanatics. Today we celebrate a legend, a true unsung hero of the LEGO Group's minifigure catalogue, a character actor of a minifigure who disappears entirely into whichever role he is cast. A character that you have definitely seen before, but that you may not necessarily recognise, and indeed, the moment after you see them, you completely forget that they were ever there at all. But there they are, always invisible, never really given the credit they are due, but definitely an important part of any LEGO set that features them. I am of course talking about the man, the myth, the little piece of plastic with a face printed on it, Commander Praji. No, don't worry, I had to look him up as well. Commander Praji appears in 75394 Imperial Star Destroyer. He's the Hugo Boss looking Imperial fella who's not wearing the pilot gear or the Stormtrooper getup or any of that jazz. While you might not necessarily recognise the name Commander Praji, you will absolutely recognise this character's face. He is this guy from A New Hope. His only job within the story is to make sure that the audience absolutely knows what is going on, what the bad guys are looking for and what the good guys are trying to avoid. Lord Vader, the battle station plans are not aboard this ship and no transmissions were made. An escape pod was jettisoned during the fighting, but no life forms were aboard. That's it, that's his entire role in the story. I've always liked this guy's attitude. He is direct and to the point, which is very important when you're talking with Darth Vader. He's like, Darth Vader, here's the assignment you gave me, here's what I've found out for you. And Darth Vader clearly likes him as well, because he doesn't go, oh, you have failed me. He goes, all right, cool, battle station plans are not here. Fair enough, moving on. Which is, well, when you're talking to Darth Vader, it's basically the best you can hope for. Now, would you believe it? In 25 years, Commander Praji has not yet had a minifigure, so this is his absolute first. But it is definitely not the first time that this particular minifigure face has shown up in a LEGO set. That's been kicking around for like 10 years at this point. Okay, almost 10 years. This minifigure face showed up for the first time in 2015 in various kind of generic first order roles within the LEGO Star Wars theme. You know, when you're making a bunch of different minifigures who are all bad guys, you don't need each of them to have their own personality and distinct face. They just need to be generic looking enough for people to be able to shoot them and not feel particularly remorseful about it. And Commander Praji, which I'm going to continue calling him for this video because what else am I going to call him, fits the bill very well. He's got a very generic, stoic, somewhat grisly but not particularly over-emotive face that just kind of fits into any scenario. It's actually really impressive how well this minifigure face fits with Commander Praji, who's got that very generic stoic face. There is an elephant in the room when talking about just how useful these generic faces are, which I am going to just hold off on for a second. Some people are not going to like me talking about this. Anyway, this particular printing has now been used in 30 different minifigures across nearly 40 LEGO sets. Most of them are Star Wars, but you get the occasional surprise in there like an Avatar set. He was also a few other named characters, so not always just generic bad guys. He was Rinsler in the Tron Legacy LEGO set. Remember that one? Nope, nobody else does either. He was Oliver Wood in a 2018 Quidditch set, and he's also been Hawkeye. And that's just perfect because, yeah, this guy is Hawkeye, absolutely. We need the perfect face for this new Hawkeye minifigure. He needs to look absolutely exactly like Hawkeye. Okay, let's use the most generic face we have in the catalogue. Now, of course, there's a very good reason for why the LEGO Group does this. It is significantly easier for them because this is a construction toy and everything needs to be interchangeable, and they need some faces that are just going to be generic enough to do anything. Like, it's a cost-cutting measure, but at the same time, you don't need all of these faces to have a huge amount of personality to them. Sometimes the graphic designers at the LEGO Group absolutely knock it out of the park with a really specific, really detailed, excellent face that looks exactly like an actor in a film. One that I absolutely adored from last year was the Ian McDiarmid face that came with the Chancellor Palpatine, that came in the Coruscant Guard gunship. Just exactly like the actor. So good, just with a few little lines. It's really impressive what can be done when the LEGO Group needs to do this. But that minifigure face can really only ever be used for a minifigure based on Ian McDiarmid in this particular period of his career. And so outside of a Chancellor Palpatine minifigure, it's not going to be very useful beyond that. So when they're not dealing with a hyper-specific caricature of an actual living person, the LEGO Group needs a bunch of minifigure faces that they can just reach into the bin and grab the same one that they've been using 100 times out and say, yep, that one will do, it's good enough. And generally it works and you don't even notice it because chances are you haven't actually spotted this until this video. And this isn't the only minifigure face that the LEGO Group uses over and over. We've got, for example, this female minifigure face, which is Black Widow and Jyn Erso and the Mighty Thor and Padme Amidala. And admittedly, two of those characters are played by the same actor, so it makes sense that they're using the same minifigure face over and over. But as I pointed out last year when this minifigure and the connecting set came out, it is disappointing that Padme's minifigure doesn't feature some of Natalie Portman's actual unique facial features, like, for example, her moles on her face, which just allow us to see a little bit more of the actual character in a minifigure face that is otherwise a little bit bland and a little bit just generic and female and pretty eyelashes and lips and stuff. Like, there's something to be said there, and here we are at the elephant in the room. Commander Praji is a fairly generic background character in the story and not hugely relevant or important, and so it's not the worst thing in the world that we're getting the same generic face that we've seen a bunch of times. But Jyn Erso, Black Widow, Padme, and the Mighty Thor are all such unique and important characters within the story that it feels a little bit more uncomfortable that they've all just been given the same blanket, they're just generic good-looking women kind of minifigure face. But let's not think about it that way. Let's think about it the more fun way, which is that this is one minifigure character who is a company man. He shows up on the day. He is given his lines. He is given his costume. He is told, right, today you're playing this character. And he's like, right, I'm in it. I'm going to do my job. Clocks out at the end of the day. He's nothing fancy. He's nothing special. He's just wonderful because he can be anybody. He's the Mr. Ben of LEGO minifigures. Who am I going to be this week? And just dresses up in his little costume and goes off to work and does his job. Obviously, that's all a bit silly, but it is just kind of tickling to think of this particular minifigure as being just the guy that the LEGO Group calls and is like, hey, we need you in a new LEGO set. And he's like, yep, sure, it's a living. This then is our tribute to the wonderful, the delightful, the often overlooked and underappreciated Commander Praji, who will be showing up in the Imperial Star Destroyer and who hopefully will show up in some more LEGO sets in the future. And we can go, I recognise him, I know that guy. If you're going to be picking up Commander Praji and all the other less important minifigures in that particular Star Destroyer, make sure that you use our affiliate link or the QR code that is currently on screen to do so. It takes you straight to the LEGO website, but when you go through that link, it gets us a little bit of a kickback. Just helps to keep the lights on at Fanatics. Let us know which of Commander Praji's many LEGO sets you have on your shelf already in the comments down below, and do the rest of the YouTube things. Give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and the notification bell. Make sure that you go to brickfanatics.com for far more important LEGO journalism than this video, and make sure that you sign up to our newsletter so that you never miss anything LEGO related ever again. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Commander Praji.